All right. Good morning, guys. Happy Friday to you. And first day of March. Finally. Seems like it took forever, didn't it? Hope you guys are doing well. As always, welcome to the blog, StormTALK, for this first day of March 2024. I'm wave meteorologist Brian Good. And as always, you guys can comment on Facebook, Twitter, and on YouTube if you have any questions or comments, concerns, joke of the day, whatever the case may be. Just keep it clean. That is optional to you guys. On the social media side, if you're watching on streaming, obviously you're not able to see the comments that fly up on the screen there. So I promise I'm not just talking to myself. It may seem like it at times. Michael, thanks for keeping us safe during the storms past Wednesday. Welcome, Michael. It was, I'm glad it worked out to where we didn't get anything significant out of that. And everything, a lot of the data, I don't know if we didn't have a chance to look back on it, but a lot of the data for the first round, those supercells for Indiana was about 150 to 200 miles off on where they developed. They did touch down. Unfortunately, they moved right into Ohio, EF2 and EF1, I think, of the two tornadoes I've seen out of that. So all the way to deal with was in the second round, which was a lot more delayed, but the second round, which was just mainly straight line wind. So we got lucky compared to what the potential was on that. I'm never going to complain about that. So this is way too early or late. I'm not sure. Late in the winter, too early in the spring season to get into that kind of mindset, but we got to. So it was a good test run more than anything. Speaking of that, there is going to be a statewide tornado drill coming up Wednesday for Kentucky. It's at 10:07 a.m. That's when all the air raid sirens will go off. Usually your schools do the drill. We'll talk more about that on Wednesday, but again, that will be next Wednesday. Indiana, I believe, is a week after that, about 10:18, if I remember right, for Indiana. So they're usually about a week off from their severe weather preparedness week. For Kentucky, it starts today. So we hear a lot more about on social media posts about preparedness and resilient safety plans and so forth. All right. So instead of storms for right now, though, it's actually a mix of rain, sleet, and snow that is moving across wave country at the moment, depending on where you're at. Now in E-Town, it is a cold rain at that. That's 31W down into E-Town. Here's a look at the radar. It is showing this band of moisture moving in, and of course, dry air ate at a lot of that, but it also allows for what we call evaporative cooling, which cools down the atmosphere to allow for anything wintry to briefly take place before you then just warm back into a safe zone of nothing but plain liquid. And that is in the process of happening right now. But as it approached, it's produced several reports of sleet, even into the city of Louisville. So that pink shade. It was pouring sleet out here at the station in downtown not long ago. Weather Service said they had a mixture of snow and sleet into the Highview area. as it moves on by. We're above freezing, so this is not causing any problems. But we can track the band of mix on looking at a more sensitive mode on the radar. This is basically looking at the shapes of whatever falls out of the cloud. So the radar can determine if it's a shape of a raindrop or an ice pellet or something other, sometimes birds. On bad severe weather days, it can detect the idea. This is a tool for detecting debris that has been picked up and lofted in the air by a tornado. So this is a very sensitive mode on the radar that we use often and has so many different uses for it. It's a great advancement they've came out with in the technology for the dual pole radar system. But when you see that area there of the yellow, that is indicating where it is not just a raindrop, basically. There are different shapes that are coming out. So in this case, it would be a snowflake or an ice pellet. And you can see it's right just on the leading edge of the moisture. It's moving in. That's where we're getting the reports. Still may get some sleet being mixed in here into Crawford County, Orange County, to Washington County, Indiana. But you get to the other side of that band of yellow, and you're getting back into the solid red, and that indicates that everything is the same shape that is fallen in size. So that indicates a raindrop. So that's why, again, this is a very temporary issue. But the reports on MPing are great for those of you that are on that and use that to submit your weather reports, storm reports. They're helpful. You can see all the little purple dots indicating the sleet, a few of the light blue ones indicating the snow reports. But as I mentioned, temperatures, I mean, they're cold, don't get me wrong, but we're not into the worry zone here of there being problems on the roads or anything like that. So we're 38 in Louisville, and it'll be a slow climb from here on out. And really, the majority of this rain band you see here this morning, for a lot of you in Louisville and Indiana, this is it. This is the main show for the day. You're going to just stay cloudy for the rest of the day. There is a secondary wave that may try to enhance some of the rain a bit later, but that system hasn't formed yet. So this is the initial wave that was back in Texas and Oklahoma yesterday that we were watching on the blog. That's going to be weakening. The new low will be developing here very soon across the deep south into the Carolinas, and it'll try on the northwest side. It will try to enhance some of the rain to redevelop in a couple of bands here this afternoon, just to keep the rain showers ongoing on the radar. But it's more likely the more south you are, closer to Nashville you are, the more you will see that. Closer to Louisville you are, it will drop off. And if you're in Indiana, drizzle, probably at best. So this is not a huge system at all. Just a bit of an annoyance, I guess. So I'm getting around town. Otherwise, I'll just keep things cloudy and cool for the day today. Julia, you got sleet over in Linden. Thanks for the report. Appreciate that. Chili and Kaminsky, appreciate that. Jonathan, rain and snow and sleet in Jeffersonville. You got a whole potpourri there. No snow hitting the ground yet, Adam, there in Bloomington. It's getting close to you. It's getting close to you. You probably will go sleet, though, but let me know. Good morning, Marianne. I hope you're doing well. By the way, the Twix candy bars, everyone ate them all. I think Tawana ate them all, actually. She's not watching right now, so she doesn't care that I call her out. At least I don't think she's watching right now. She's in the other room. We'll find out in a second. Okay, so after the system moves on by, the only issue I see here is the wet ground. If we end up with a light, drizzly, showery scenario as we head into tonight, that gets the grass and the ground and just a kind of a damp feel, that could lead to not only a foggy setup or a cloudier setup that may linger into Saturday, and the same storyline. I got a feeling we're going to have to shave off some of the temperatures tomorrow. I don't want to, but I think we may have to. And we may have to add in some drizzle tomorrow. I'll explain on that in just a second. So kind of a mixed feeling here on how the weekend is trending. Meanwhile, back to the west. Boy, this is a beast, right? Look at this system. And I love this because we don't have, obviously, the high mountain ranges like they do out here into the Rockies and the Sierra Nevadas. But, man, you look into that area, you can see the moisture just hitting the mountains. As soon as it gets to the higher elevations, it just instantly goes to snow. I tell you what, though, this is not just a typical snowstorm. 12 feet. That's the forecast. I don't even know what you guys, you bots lovers, I love you all. I don't know what you all do. I don't know if your heads would just explode if that was the forecast. I don't know. That would be overwhelming for anybody. But needless to say, travel is just not going to happen on I-80 into California to Reno there. Yeah, it's just not going to happen. That's an incredible amount. But what a system. If you got friends or family or students, whatever the case is, going on spring break, and want to do some skiing, I know Colorado is always popular. Man, try to hit some of the resorts there because that is going to be incredible. Okay, enough about that system. Let's get into our setup here this afternoon. You can see we've got the few spotty areas of very light rain and drizzle again that try to redevelop this afternoon. Again, the thermometer is not going to move very much. It will likely even be colder than what it was yesterday, the way it's looking. Then we get into tonight. Most of that system is now east, but the problem is, again, the moisture gets trapped, as often it does in the Ohio River Valley, because this doesn't have a lot of wind with it. So because of that, and a gentle south wind, it's a good setup to kind of just linger the low clouds around. And there are some hints at times that drizzle may try to form under this cloud deck. I'm going to look at that a little more closely here in a minute for the midday data coming in to decide how annoying this will be. But because of that, this particular model only takes us into the low to mid 50s at best tomorrow. All the other data was a little more optimistic, closer to 60, but they all have a cloudier setup to start with. Some just develop sunshine a little more in the afternoon than others do, and that makes a difference. A March sun angle is good and can warm you up nicely, but if you block it, it's not fun. So Saturday is just one of those days we'll have to trend. All right, I got to work on Saturday. And see how it plays out. We get into Sunday, same ordeal. If we end up with drizzle on Saturday, then you end up with a wet ground, you get fog. And this model loves fog. It always does. And because of that, it is not as warm as other data is for highs on Sunday. A lot of the data I've been looking at the past few days is trying to get us into the 70-degree range or maybe lower 70s on Sunday. This model thinks, oh, well, we may end up with a fog bank. That may be tough to get rid of. Therefore, numbers start getting shaved. It will be a warmer day of all the days I've mentioned so far, at least in the 60s, but we want the 70s, So I'll watch that too and trend it. It doesn't have a lot of support right now. It's fairly alone on its idea, but a good chance. In fact, Monday is the more confident day on and getting into the mid 70s. So Monday is your warm day of the entire extended. The way it's looking now is Monday. Sunday has potential. Okay. Let's see. What'd you say, Marianne? That would be 11 feet too many for this bot fan. Yeah, I totally understand. Travis, how you doing, Travis? Watching mid to late March for winter to fight back. I agree. I'm going to show that in a second. I'm so ready for spring. Hope it doesn't last too long. I was getting worn out cutting all the firewood. Yeah, I understand. Everyone wants this warmer weather, right? To kick in, but we'll see. But I do think we always deal with this, guys. If you've grown up here, you know we rarely just go to spring. It's usually a tease of spring, winter, another tease of spring, winter, and then summer. We don't like to be normal, and that's fair. Okay, so what happens next week? Well, Monday again is the bonus day of warm weather. Tuesday, very odd scenario with this. A front moves in, but on the tail end of the front, low pressure will be developing right through here near Memphis. And that is going to be key on whether or not this low will then work its way into Pennsylvania, or will it take some time and swing a little more east and develop into the Carolinas and head out the East Coast. Don't you love my squigglies? So that makes a big difference on how long this system is going to be a thorn in our side for Tuesday and Wednesday next week. Yeah, there's red showing up. There is some fuel for some lightning and thunder. That's a little higher than what it looked like yesterday, but there is not a lot of wind energy. There is some with the boundary, but it's displaced. It's not where the cape is or the fuel. So because of that, I'm not worried on a severe risk. Your severe risk is going to be down here, if anything, into the core of the warm sector and south of where the low is trying to form. But Tuesday, again, will be our next decent rain chance after whatever this is today moves out. And then whether or not we extend the rain chance solidly in Wednesday or even part of Thursday will depend on the low, how it forms. Let me advance it so you see what I'm talking about. It starts to develop here and then tries. You see the slowing down and the curl that develops. Very similar almost to what we got today. And drips. But here's the problem. We've got a traffic jam here in the lower 48. We don't have time for anything to move slow. Everything's got to start moving a little faster here or we're going to run into problems. Because it's moving slow, the next system is already honking the horn and like, hey, here I come. So there is a chance if this guy here is too slow, they're going to basically just kind of blend together and we end up with a solid rain chance from Tuesday into the weekend next week. It'll rain the whole time because they will be two separate waves, but it will prevent there being a gap that we've so far enjoyed in this pattern. We've had some gaps. There've been some decent weather. But next week, there's a lot of blocking going on up here to the north, and these low pressures, they're rolling in off the Rockies, but they really just don't know where to go after that. They struggle to try to gain latitude here. Same when they get into the Carolinas, so that just creates a kind of a messy setup. It can cut down on severe weather because you're not dealing with a very strong jet flow and a kind of a blocking setup. But wherever the lows are, near the low pressure tracks, that's where you still got to watch for there is a chance for some gusty thunderstorms that can happen. Right now, I just don't see that being a big concern for us here locally. But as always, things can obviously change. But there's nothing right now that looks alarming. This system, though, the one that rolls off toward next weekend, we've talked about it several times. It is certainly of all the systems I just mentioned, even the minor one today, Tuesday, Wednesday, this one here, the last one in the series, it gets us into next weekend, is the stronger of them all. It will have a little more of a severe weather signal for more so the I-10, I-20 corridors to the deep south. Can't rule out some thunder here, but this looks more like severe weather in the south. What is interesting about it, if you remember the block talked about, the low forms, we get rain, warm weather, but we get into Saturday and Sunday, and the low may try to cut off. Now we're back to that lovely game of do the low pressures make their own cold air to try to bring winter back as far as wintry precip. It's possible. This one right now, this idea is too far north to get us into that storyline, but something to watch. Very classic to see that take place. So we'll see the trends. I'm seeing this repeat a few more times, by the way, for mid to late March. And then we try to ease out of it slowly in April. But the second half of March just does not look to me as much of a warm period as what we've had for the second half of February. So we may take a step back here. But even the severe weather signal, I wish I had the chart for you guys, but we have a chart that tracks severe potential in general on several of the models. And it's got noise, if you will. And if it's quiet, indicates likely a colder pattern. If there's a lot of noise, then we're probably in a warmer pattern and a lot of storms. Well, the signal for mid to late March and the parts of early April is a relatively quiet signal until about April, about the second weekend of April. Then the signal really begins to spike again. So that's telling us, at least right now, that there more than likely will be more colder systems and warmer into play. Doesn't always mean snow, to be clear, but it could at least be chilly compared to normal. So enjoy these warm days we have mixed in, including like parts of Sunday and then certainly on Monday. Enjoy that because we're not going to see a lot of that probably the next couple weeks, the way it's looking here. Everyone good? Yeah, don't forget, set your clocks ahead 1 hour. Not this weekend, but next Saturday night before you go to bed, we begin daylight saving. And of course, we begin daylight saving time with a closed low pressure sitting over us with nothing but gloomy skies. So you probably notice the difference that it's getting dark later because it's probably going to get dark earlier because of the gloomy sky. Isn't that great? Timothy, heavy sleet right now into Mount Washington. It covered the deck. All right, thanks. Appreciate that. Yeah, it's not going to last very long. Again, this is just a narrow band pushing in. Otherwise, this is going to be just a band of light rain. All right, type 41 if you're good. Type 41 if you're good. Hope you guys are ready for the weekend. Feels like it's been a really long week. The weather has a lot to do with that. All right. Appreciate that. What'd you say, Travis? People will be mad about winter fighting. I'm like, yeah. Gardeners especially don't like it. It's not a lot of fun. 376, Jonathan. Wait a minute. Jonathan, you okay? You good? All right. Make sure you're all right, Jonathan. Okay. Fair enough. I will be out Monday and Tuesday. So I will see you guys next Wednesday. Hopefully not before. But of course, I'll be on midday today as well. So I'll see you then. Take care.